Greetings. I want to get this out of the way. I will do a video on Sunday, but then I won't have a video next Thursday. The reason I won't have a video next Thursday is because I'm going to do the Thursday video on my other channel. The reason I'm doing that is because next Thursday will be 20 years that I've been self-employed. As of, what month is this? June. June 24th, 2001 is when I got my business license, and I was officially working for myself. So I'm doing that. I just love to have those anniversary dates and use those for special things. So I'm putting it on that channel. I didn't want to have to release 2 videos on the same day, so I'll do one on Sunday, and then you won't see one here until either the following Sunday or the next Thursday. Just letting you know. Anyway, one of the things that I try to do every once in a while on this channel is I give advice on something. Most of the time I'm gearing it towards younger people. But truthfully, this one here is not just for younger people. It's for, well, I'll say people my age, but hopefully you're at least 10 years younger than me, 15 years younger, because that gives you an opportunity to actually do something with some of this advice that will help you for a longer period of time. Even at my age right now, there's probably a couple of things here that might help you in deciding, how to make some good financial choices for yourself. Because let's face the facts here. There are an overwhelming percentage of people, and this is mainly in the United States, I don't really know about other countries, but there's a lot of people who get closer to retirement age and find out that Social Security does not pay you as much as you thought it would. Maybe you have a pension, but that pension for most of us is not going to pay as much as you think it's going to. And so it helps to basically help yourself. And the earlier you learn some of these things, then the better chance you have of building up your own portfolio of money. See, I'm using that term differently because I said portfolio, which will make you think of investing, which it might, but in general, you can save up money in many different ways. For instance, I was just reading the story earlier this week about a man who had passed away. He'd been a janitor his entire life at this school system, but he put his money away, and when he passed away, he had no family. And so he donated it to scholarships for kids at this school to go to college because he ended up having $3 million in the bank. It can be done. I'm not saying you necessarily have to be frugal like he was, but you know what? If you've got something to help you get started when you're retired, these are just things you need to look at. So that's where I'm going to go with. I'm going to give you 5 financial tips that hopefully you'll learn when you're younger, but if you're a little older, they're still pretty good tips. The first tip is budgeting. You need to learn how to budget your money. The basic thing about having a budget is that you know how much money you're already bringing in, and I'm talking about net, not gross. So gross might be $1,000 a week, which is pretty good, by the way, but your net might only be $833. $833 is how much money you're actually getting because taxes are taken out. And I got to let you know that's actually, being generous, because if you're making $1,000 a week, you ain't bringing home $833 unless you have kids. And even if you're bringing that home because you have kids, well, you got a lot more expenses. Anyway, budgeting lets you know how much money you're bringing home and how much your bills are. And you break down budgeting by weekly bills or monthly bills. For instance, weekly, you might need gas every week. You might need to buy food every week. Monthly, your credit card bills, your rent or your mortgage bills, things like that. And you know what your bills are. And the reason you do that is because that way you don't get into financial trouble because you don't have enough money to pay your bills, and it gives you a chance to do some of the other things, like what I'm going to mention here at number 2, which is you need to start putting some money away. And the earlier you can do it, the better it is. Here's the reality. If you graduate from college or even high school and you get a job, whatever you're bringing home, if you can find a way to put 10% of that away every time you get paid and just keep doing that, that ends up being a pretty good amount of money. Even if it's a little bit, for instance, if it's, say you're bringing home $60 a week, and my goodness, I hope you're bringing home more than that. But say, that's what you're bringing home. Well, 10% is only $6. But any money that you can put away on a regular basis, it builds up. I put money away. I do it differently because I'm self-employed, and my income's been down a little bit once my mother moved in here. Still, I put money away, but I put money away in a lot of different ways. I put money here in the house, because you need to make sure you have some money in the house. If everything basically crashed in your house one day or something happened, you got to go, and maybe the banks, you can't get to the banks, it doesn't hurt to have a couple of $1,000s in the house. You can go to a hotel, you can get food, you can put gas in your car, and you got at least some time to, take care of yourself while other things are going on. A couple $1,000s doesn't hurt. Your car breaks down, you've got some money in the house, maybe you don't have enough on your credit card, but you've got some cash in the house, you can take care of stuff like that. Anyway, you start putting money away. If you're able to, now you can take some money and invest it. And investing is kind of dicey, and I'm just telling it like it is. Investing is dicey because you don't always make money from investing. You have certain types of investing that you can do where you're going to make maybe 2 or 3% a year, which is better than nothing, and it's way better than a savings account. Savings accounts, there's no banks now that will give you a good rate on a savings account. You basically might make 0.5% a year. A year. That's just terrible, horrible. You might as well do something better with your money. Like I said, you can invest it, but you definitely keep some in the house, and you just let some of that grow. And like I said, the earlier you do it, the better your money grows, and life is just so much easier when you have money for emergencies. Or, say there's a, let's see, who do I want to see? I'll say Mariah Carey concert. Mariah Carey concert, and you've always wanted to go see Mariah Carey. You can hit your stash, hit your home stash. You get to go. You don't have to take out money against your bills so that you can't pay your bills. And of course, you're going to know what your bills are because you budgeted. See how that all worked out together? So those are the first two things. The third thing you have to think about is, do you want to buy a house, or are you good with renting? I'll tell you the truth. Before I got married, I never wanted a house. I'd only lived in a house 1 year, basically, and that was when my dad went to Vietnam and we went to live with my grandmother. And it was this big, massive house. It was old, and it was decrepit, but, that was a little bit too much house for just the three of us. And my grandmother basically lived there alone with her poodle. So, as a matter of fact, she only went upstairs to go to bed. She was downstairs all day long, and she had a full attic that she could have done anything with, which I was going to confiscate until I saw a spider up there one day and said, nah, I don't want to be up here anymore because I don't like bugs. And the spider, nah, it was just way too far from everything else. And there was no bathroom up in the attic, so you had to go downstairs to use the bathroom. Still, would you rather a house or renting? I think that if you're going to have a family, you need to have a house. And if you're going to get a house, you need to basically make sure you have enough house, to cover your expanding family. And people always say, well, I only want one child. You may only want one child, but you may end up having 3. It's better to have that extra space. But I'm going to give you a thing about houses. If you go to a realtor and you say, I want to know how much house I can afford, they're always going to tell you you can afford more house than you really want to pay for. For instance, when my ex-wife and I went to someone and we said, we want to know how much, house can we afford, this guy came up with something talking about, you can afford a house up to $290,000 a year. This was back in 1998, and I was making a little over $50,000 at the time. My ex-wife was making somewhere around 21, 22. So in essence, together we were making less than $75,000 a year, and this guy's talking about a house $290,000. So what did we do? We went out and looked at houses that were around $250,000 to $290,000. And you know what? Some of them were absolutely beautiful, but we would have died. We were first-time homeowners. We didn't know at the time smart thing we didn't get a house that much, that when you're a first-time homeowner in most states, you end up paying escrow, which basically says you're not just paying mortgage, but you're paying taxes at the exact same time so that they make sure that your taxes get paid. We would have gotten wiped out fast. So you need to pay less money for more space. Don't go for the big dollar amounts. However, let's think about renting. Renting is almost always going to cost you less. Over time, however, you're not getting any equity from renting. Now, if you don't have any children, renting probably works well for you, because you can have, in some places, you might have your utilities covered. You might have, like in New York, for instance, a lot of places have heat because it gets cold up here. So heat is covered. Not all electricity, but if your heat is covered, excuse me, if your heat is covered, then your electricity is only like $15 to $20 a month. So that starts to make a lot of sense. And maybe you have other things. For instance, you don't have to cut the lawn because they're cutting the lawn. Where I lived when I was single, I had my mail was inside, so I didn't have to go outside to get my mail. Garbage was inside. So I just went down to the first floor, and they had the garbage room, and you put everything in there, and they took that out once a day. They had an area basically where if you didn't feel like staying in your apartment, there's a nice big area, some nice chairs, big old window if you wanted to do that. They had a swing set and some other thing if you did happen to have a child. And it was a very small area because we didn't have a lot of kids in that complex. So you think about something like that, and it's a lot easier. You know, you don't have to worry as much about people breaking into your house, leaving your house. There are some major benefits. One of the things I'm thinking about is if I get to 70, hopefully I will, but if I get to 70 and it's just me, I don't know that I want this big old house just by myself. It's a 5-bedroom house. So I would probably look for senior living. And here's the thing, senior living starts at 55, so I actually qualify for it now. The rent is lower, they have special services for you, and it's something to think about. So, do you really want a house, or would you rather rent? Number 4, buying a car. Not gonna lie, for the early part of my life, I only wanted new cars. I wanted to be able to sit in the car and get that new car smell, and you know that you're starting with the least amount of miles in that car that you possibly can. No one else has ever sat in the seat, which ain't really true because someone drove that car there. But it's a brand new car. You've got that $60,000 mile, warranty, or maybe the 100,000 mile warranty. It all sounds great. However, it's possible that you get the lowest car. In other words, cars come in basically 3 different types. You get the limited, you get the basic, and whatever they call the middle one, because different places call them by different things. The limited is the best car. Basically, we make fewer of these, but we throw in all this cool stuff that everybody doesn't get. And you pay more for that. So if you go in to get a regular car and you may pay, $20,000 for it, but the limited comes in at $29,000. Do you want to pay that extra $9,000? Now you can get all these, pick and choose different things. It would bring your price up, but when you get limited, it's all in there. This is new. If you buy used, you can get a limited car with all that stuff in there, and your car might end up costing less than a brand new car that has nothing. When I bought my first used car back in, I think, 2006, car had everything. It was this big old car. Most people thought it was a Cadillac, but it was a Kia Monte. And it had everything. And it came in at $20,000. That car, brand new, was $32,000. And it only had 5,000 miles on it. And I had that car for, what did I have that car? 13 years? It was wonderful. It was so cool. And at the time, like I said, it had everything in it that, a lot of other cars didn't have. And of course, now cars are fancier, but a few years ago, I needed to go get a new car. The Monty was starting to break down, and I knew I needed something because, I've still got to cart my mother around here and there. I needed something to make sure that it was going to be reliable. So I go out, I'm looking at cars at a different place, and I was looking to possibly buy a Kia Sorento. It's this big, massive thing that I really didn't want, but the price was right. And those were like the cars. They didn't really come with a lot of things in it. And I just didn't like it. I said, I don't want to have to try to back this thing up in the garage, and it's too big. I'm not that kind of big a thing. It wasn't like it was like a big car, It was more like a big old, I thought it was more like a van, if you want to know the truth, but that's my way of thinking. And then I went to this other place, and they had, some new cars, but they had some used cars. And I said, yeah, I'm not really sure. I said, geez, it'd be nice if you had a cadenza. And the guy says, I got a cadenza. I said, wait, what? Because Kia had actually stopped making the cadenza for a while. And so I went out, I looked at this car. It was a white car. I didn't really want a white car, but you know what? The car came in. I got that car for $16,000. It was listed at $17,800, but I traded my car in. However, that cadenza, brand new, had been $40,000. So in essence, I got a car that was 5 years old for, my God, what? Almost 60,000? No, 60%, 55% less than it had been brand new. And it's got all this stuff in it. Matter of fact, it's got so much stuff in it that I haven't really learned how to use all of it. But that's what you get. I've got the comfort. I got cool seats. And I don't mean they look cool. I mean, in the summer, I can hit a button and it cools my seat down, which cools the body. And of course, it heats me up when it's winter. I've got the heated steering wheel, and it's padded. This car. And that's what you can do if you're looking to buy a car. And the truth of the matter is, you don't have to spend tons of money on a brand new car. You can save a lot of money by buying a used car. They have limited warranties, obviously, but like when I bought the Amante, I still had the mileage up to 60,000, the warranty up to 60,000 miles. Now, when I bought the Cadenza, it was an older car, so even though I still had the, full warranty up to 60,000, I started at 37,000. So, I wore that out in about a year. Still, at least I had that full warranty period. So it's just something to think about. Don't always look to go buy new. And that's probably true for a whole lot of things, but I'm only talking about cars because cars cost a lot more money, regardless of whether you're saving money on a car or not. Here's the last part. Health insurance. And young people don't necessarily see the importance of health insurance unless they have kids. Here's the importance of health insurance. Say you have to go to your doctor, and it's not for a physical, so physicals aren't fully covered, but you go to your doctor because you got some kind of cough or some kind of cold. So you go to your doctor and you come out and you have no health insurance, so the doctor's going to send you a bill for $300. You're going to owe full $300. Now, if you have health insurance, you're paying something monthly, and they're going to pay a certain amount. You might have a copay of $15, or maybe you have a deductible amount that you have to pay. It's still going to be less than that $300. Now, what people start thinking is, well, I'm putting all this money in, every year, but I'm not going to see the doctor maybe, more than once a year. Or heck, I may not even see the doctor. I mean, I went a bunch of years without seeing doctors. However, what ends up happening at a certain point is that now you're going to see more doctors, or you might have some kind of catastrophic injury. Maybe you're one of those people out there playing softball at age 31. You slide into a base and you tear your knee. It ain't covered under a whole lot of things. So now you've got to pay that bill. And then you have to pay for physical therapy. Trust me, I know something about physical therapy right now. So you have to pay all these bills. Without health insurance, you're probably going to say, what do I do? Because I've got to pay all of this out of my pocket. You need to have health insurance, and you need to try to get the best health insurance you can pay for, because a big accident can happen at any time. Car accident is a different story because you're going to be covered under no fault. But anything else is like, you got to think about it. It's scary. I mean, truthfully, when I hurt my back in 1989, I should have gone to the doctor. I didn't. I had a whole lot of things that would have actually kept my bill really low. But it was one of those kind of things where I worked out of town. So even though I had pretty good insurance, it would have cost me more being in town to use it. So I didn't like doctors at the time, because I worked at too many doctors. I wasn't crazy about a lot of them. It's terrible to say, but it's true. But you need health insurance. Even, if you have to pay into the pool, it's not a bad thing to have. You should always have health insurance, and you should find out what they cover. It's the same with dental insurance, by the way, because dental insurance, you never know when you may need a root canal or when you may need a crown. And, you save money. If one of those kinds of things happen, it costs a lot of money, but you can save a lot of money just by having it. Anyway, 5 financial things you probably should know more about when you're younger. When you're older, you may still need to know about some of those things. But whenever you can, get that. That's all I've got. Let me know what you think. My name is Mitch Mitchell. I hope y'all have enjoyed this. It's longer than I thought it was going to be, but hey, there it is. Y'all take care.